Recording back. All right, Alex, another episode of 30 Minutes Off the Cuff. How you been?
Oh, not too bad. Hanging in there, life and trying to get ahead of the game there.
Yeah, another deal. How's the East Coast? Nothing crazy going on over there? You're in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, nothing. Oh, yeah, well, I just found out that uh one of our one of our friends in the truth community just posted in one of the group chats that the state of Connecticut, and then I see other people catching on and making Instagram videos. The state of Connecticut, I can't remember what it exactly is, but the state of Connecticut is going to, quote, treat the water systems in the rivers,
Hmm.
and it's poison.
This is Bill
Very bad.
Gates.
Connecticut is about to poison its own lakes and rivers with a highly toxic chemical called diquat, and it seems like no one knows about it. It's actually a coordinated plan that they're about to roll out in states all over the country. This particular chemical is banned in Europe and highly toxic to humans and wildlife alike. I've even heard landscapers refer to diquat as the nuclear option. The way these scumbags are getting away with it is by saying it's used to kill an invasive plant species called hydrilla, which I'm sure it does, along with everything else in the water.
Huh?
Bill Gates have anything to do with this one?
Who knows? I mean, this is a blue, quote, blue state, blue city type of deal, but I think it's just fraud. I think the state is red, but through all the fraud, it's assumed it's a blue state. But anyways, a lot of people are alarmed about it. I don't remember the name of it. I can look it up right now and see if I can find what that was. But I was just what? And a lot of people are freaking out about it. Let me look in the group that they shared it. And apparently it's literally like all the water, all the rivers, all of the I don't know if it's lakes. So here I'm looking at it.
Well, I know Bill
Let me
Gates out here. He bought off Ecolab. I'm not sure if you know what Ecolab is, but it's a water
I'm
filtration company and a water treatment company. This was like a year or so ago. He bought up a big portion of Ecolab, and it's a little bit scary because you know what he did with everything else, and he's going to somehow be trusted to treat our waters now.
Oh yeah, it's just crazy. A guy who's not a doctor, who's not this, who's not that, but they just claim, oh well, you can do it, it's fine.
Mhm.
Um, Literally, I'm just flipping through her page here, and I know that
Yeah.
she
I guess he's
posted.
qualified. I mean, he stole. I mean, I mean, he founded, you know, computer Microsoft. So I mean, he's obviously very knowledgeable in the water treatment area.
Oh,
Expertise.
of course, but he is, of course, putting viruses probably in the water. I mean, he's great at the viruses
You
thing,
start
isn't
with
he?
viruses on the computer. You go to the viruses and D's, and then
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's just hilarious. This is the Constitution states. That's what it says. And now it's the opposite. I wonder how long it took to get to that point. The irony is
I
just
hope your
crazy.
constitution is strong. If you're gonna be drinking the water.
Oh my God. I'm the one who filters everything, but I'm gonna have to go extra hard. All right, well, I'm not let me see if I can find it in the group. And then if not, you can probably find it later. But it's just nuts the stuff that we we uh we go through that they just try to push all through our heads. And then if you take a breath, all these things just sneak through. That's why we need everybody on deck. whoever's listening to this now or later, well, yeah, later, you definitely need to get off the sidelines because if you just like, oh, somebody else will do take care of it, it's just gonna catch up to you when you least expect it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't move far enough out of town when we moved. I wanted to get a well. I didn't really want to get the city water, especially the city I live in. It's terrible. We're always getting violations from the city's always getting violations because it's not keeping up the water treatment like it's supposed to. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Maybe they're not putting enough fluorine or something in there. Maybe that could be a good thing if that's the case. But
It's
usually,
funny. I'm looking right now. This happens to me all the time. So on my IG, I think what I sent just got blocked. So now I can't find it because they do that to me. They'll they like nobody. I'm severely shadow banned, by the way. And then when they really don't want you sharing something, it doesn't even. Oh, it says can't upload. So that's probably the one about the water.
probably. Yeah,
It's
I'm shadow banned too. People are like, "Hey, I never see you post anything." Like, are you kidding? Like, go to my Facebook, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff I posted, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even see any of this."
exactly. That's what I have to tell people. Go straight to my page. Oh, they won't. We won't see anything. This is. Oh, here it is. Isn't this funny? So I found the dude that posted. Yeah. So I had a lot of people. I'm just gonna read this guy's post. I'm not gonna say it on here because I don't want him banned. Because I had a lot of people asking me to make a hard post about the chemical spraying they're about to do in Connecticut and many other states.
Well, I'm sure it's coming
Like,
here.
yeah. So I did my best to put together as much information as I could and get it out there before it was too late. For reference on the effects of, it's called DIQUOT spraying, DIQUOT spraying. Somewhere it sadly did already happen. Check out. All right, so I guess I'll mention this. Killing underscore Caddo underscore lake. So then it goes on to say Connecticut is about to start spraying toxic herbicides, is what it's called.
Nice.
DIQUOT into rivers and lakes. And most people don't even know it's happening. 12 sites across the lower Connecticut River. Chemical DIQUOT debromide banned in Europe. You know, like how it is. Everything's banned in Europe as far as like the
Yeah, they
food,
have a
but
few more brain cells than us. I'm not sure how, but
well, yeah, in various ways. But at least they're ahead of the game when it comes to what we put in our
yeah, they
mouth
are.
eating.
I've been to Europe
And it's
several times, and the stuff that we have, they have 100 ingredients. There's like 3 ingredients over there.
exactly. But I think that's why I'm happy that RFK is finally getting around with this stuff. The whole Mahaming and all that. Some people are a little skeptical. We'll see if it happens. I would like to think it is going to be happening, even though it's very slow. So you have people that are undermining other people. It's kind of hard to get things going. Anyway, so it says DIQUOT, like I said, dibromide banned in Europe and highly toxic to wildlife and human. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Scheduled, and remember the rumblings I was saying? Oh yeah, July 4th, everything's probably going to be a false flag and all these things. Now you're wondering what game plan are they going to do? Is it going to happen? Some people say actually, I just found out July 2nd is actually the real Independence Day. That's when they actually went to the Continental Congress and voted to free our nation from the oppressive, redcoats and all this stuff. But July 4th, I guess, is where everybody knows about. But isn't that interesting? So it says here, scheduled after July 4th, 2025 is when they're going to do this thing. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Approved by Connecticut DEEP. I think I know, dude.
Isn't it interesting that, if you have a farm and any sort of drainage is going into the ditch or in the river system, they'll fine you up the wazoo, but they can sit there and add whatever the heck they want. That's obviously proven to be deadly to animals and humans, and yeah, it's okay for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's totally hypocritical. So it says here, approved by Connecticut DEP and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Isn't that funny? Sites
Wipe out our
include,
military with it too, huh?
yeah, right. Sites include Chester Creek, Hamburg Cove, Selden Creek, Salmon River, Deep River, and Lake Pocatawk. I can't even say that word.
Hanukkah?
Connecticut is literally about to chemically nuke its waterways. And I know some folks who live in these near these places, in these streets. Let's flood their inboxes and make this impossible to ignore. Ask them to halt the project, demand safe, non-chemical alternatives.
Is Pfizer mentioned in there at all?
Huh?
Pfizer's not mentioned there at all? Pfizer?
Who knows? Now it's just a list of all your representatives and commissioners you should call. Now, this is the thing. Are people going to actually call? So they're saying, Kenneth W. Hannon, project manager, a manager for the Connecticut Hydrilla Control Project, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, call him. Robert E. Kaloreski, Deputy Commissioner, Brian P. Thompson, Federal Constitution Review. All these things I've never heard of. Colonel Justice R. Rabbis, P.E., call him. Governor Lamont, who I don't think won and got, I think he, because of fraud.
Who's the governor out there?
Call him. And then the one and only Senator Blumenthal. Oh my gosh, yes. Our savior, Senator Blumenthal.
Who's your
him.
governor?
Yeah, he's like, what?
Who's your governor out there?
Senator Blumenthal.
Oh, that is your governor?
Excuse me, Governor Ned Lamont. Ned Lamont is our governor. Now, I don't know if he's as woke as all these other people. I think he's a pushover.
I'm sure he's a Democrat. Since coming from the
Democrat. No, he is. The whole system here is Democrat. It's just I don't think these people really got in it. Anyways, so that's what's going on with Connecticut. Maybe we can start again. Well, I know you're looking at the time here. There you go. So that's just one exciting thing happening in Connecticut. And maybe
put Connecticut on the map. All right. Well, I'm sure if Bill Gates and Ecolab catch wind of it, they'll start that stuff here too.
Oh my God!
This Ecolab that he bought off, it's scary. It's what everybody uses for medical equipment, for I don't know, the syringe, everything to do with medical, anything to do with water treatments. And this dude, biggest mass murderer on earth, and he's gonna freaking take over the whole project. Okay. Apparently they were struggling. Ecolab was struggling, so they needed Bill Gates to help them out. So I'm sure that's exactly what he plans on doing.
Hey,
probably got something to do with that Connecticut project.
Hey, it's business. I mean, who knows? I mean, Skull and Bones is here. I mean, what the heck? Anything goes. Like, what the? That's what I tell people. People live in Connecticut.
What's your university there? Don't you have a big university besides UC?
The biggest is just UConn.
Just UConn? I thought you had one of the.
We have others, but it's not as big. The UConn's the big one. They're all about agriculture. Maybe they can come in and fight this.
Yeah, they're gonna save us all.
Yeah.
Nothing going on in Wisconsin. Nothing big. We're kind of out of the.
Ready.
Actually, I was wrong. I think I can top your news in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
It might top it.
All right.
So I believe it was yesterday or today. It's one of those days. So that during the Biden administration, the Supreme Court basically overturned Roe v. Wade, kind of, sort of, not really, sort of, yeah, brought it back to the states.
Yep.
So, being that Wisconsin had a law on the books back from 176 years ago, stating that you can't terminate the life of unborn children. Well, it went to our Supreme Court, and of course, our Supreme Court is the most pious court in the land, and they decided that it was an ancient law, 1900s law or 1800s law can't be imputed on the people here 200 years later. So they struck it down, and now it's abortion on demand again here in Wisconsin. So
Really?
for 8 months, I think it is, we had well, abortion was still continuing, but it was not really legal per se, because of we had a state law stating you can't kill your children, unborn children. But now went to our Supreme Court, and
In your state's Supreme Court,
our
right?
state Supreme Court, yeah, the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So that's our news here. We don't care about children, and you don't care about wildlife and drinking water, apparently. So take your pick. But yeah,
Well,
it was 176 years that this law has been on the Wisconsin books, and yeah, gone.
that- that's what happens when you fall asleep at the wheel, folks.
Yeah, our anointed Governor Evers here, he had some complimentary words for our high court, so he's all in it together with them. So
Yeah, but once we fix all the garbage about all the fraud of the elections and everything, that will clean house. But still, it's a prayer thing. You got to pray, and
yeah, I think it's been a real election for a long time. I mean, I think that the Republicans and Democrats are pretty much on together, like they say, and
yeah,
maybe the local level, but
yeah, the local level is more important than the federal.
yeah,
But it's a different. They're all different. Every process is different. The presidential is different than the Senate, which actually was different years ago, and they changed it so the left can get more control, and even that's changed. And I know if you go down the rabbit hole about even what the word voting means and all these things, there's all a bunch of stuff. But you got to take it one step at a time. I just learned several years ago that electors are more powerful than voters because they get 4 votes to their name or something like that.
oh, you're talking about like the
It's-
electoral college, or
I mean, it might be part of that. I forget the guy's name. I don't know if he's still alive. He's around social media, or people reposted his old videos that were on tape and his lectures, and he would talk about things like that and how what your rights really are, and people don't really know or understand
oh yeah,
what
maritime law and common
yeah,
law.
yeah, what makes you really free and things like that, which people should relearn because before they set up the U.S. corporation in the 1800s, we had probably more freedom than anything before that. The whole thing about how U.S. citizen versus the United States. Like there's a difference between
Nationally
and,
born.
and a United States. Like the words I'm saying right now, U.S. citizens versus the citizen of the United States of
Yeah,
America.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, so like the corporation being like Steven Rella or whatever, being all caps.
Yeah,
Versus
yeah, you're strong.
Steven
And
Rella
people
versus
don't realize that the Wizard of Oz is a tell-all. They just think it's about what they see on the surface. It's actually all about that. It's kind of crazy.
yeah,
So,
the whole banking system, the golden,
yeah,
the yellow brick road, whatever. Yeah,
the straw man.
yeah, the Tin
The
Man.
king-
I can't remember what all the allegories are, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically a play on the whole banking system.
Wizard of Oz, what it really means. This appears to be a message to expose the banking cartel in America, and to let the people know that they have the power to liquidate them, and get back to Kansas, the real land and republic. The Wizard of Oz, written by L. Frank Baum, is not just a mere story. What is Oz a symbol for? Ounces. What is measured in ounces? gold. What is the yellow brick road? Bricks or ingot bars of gold. The character known as the straw man represents that fictitious, all caps, legal fiction, a person the federal US government created with the same spelling as your birth name. Remember what the straw man wanted from the Wizard of Oz? A brain? No juristic person, legal fiction, paper corporation has a brain because he or she has no breath of life. What did the straw man get in place of a brain? A certificate, a birth certificate for a new legal creation. He was proud of his new legal status, and all the other legalisms he was granted. Now he becomes the epitome of the brainless sack of straw who was given a certificate in place of a grain of common sense. Now, what about the Tin Man? Does taxpayer identification number, TIN, bring anything to mind? The poor Tin Man just stood there, mindlessly doing his work until his body literally seized up and stopped functioning. He worked himself to death because he had no heart or soul. He's the heartless and emotionless creature, robotically carrying out his daily task as though he were already dead. He's the ox pulling the plow and the mule toiling under the yoke. These days, his taskmasters just oil him nightly with beer, and place him in front of a hypnotic television, until his very existence no longer has any meaning or value. His masters keep him cold on the outside, and heartless on the inside, in order to control any emotion or feeling that might arise. The cowardly lion was always too frightened to stand up for himself. Of course, he was a bully and a big mouth when it came to picking on those smaller than him. Have you ever noticed how bullies are really the biggest cowards? They act as though they have great courage, but, in reality, have none at all. They roar, but with no teeth of authority to back them up. When push came to shove, the cowardly lion always buckled and whimpered when anyone of any size or stature challenged him. He wanted courage from the Grand Wizard, so he was awarded a medal of official recognition. Now, although remaining a coward, his official status allowed him to be a bully, but with officially recognized authority, and not at all unlike the attorneys, who hide behind the courts. What about the trip through the field of poppies? Did you notice how this had no narcotic effect on the straw man who had no brain, or the Tin Man with no heart or soul? They weren't real people, so drugs could not influence them. The Wizard of Oz was written at the turn of the century, so how could the author have known America was going to be drunk? The Crown has been playing the drug cartel game for centuries. Just look up the history of Hong Kong and the Opium Wars. The Crown already had valuable experience conquering all of China with drugs, so why not the rest of the world? What was the Emerald City? The Federal Reserve System. We finally exposed Wizard for what he really was. Toto, the cute and somewhat annoying little dog. Toto means in total, or all together in Latin. What was it that the witch wanted after she alleged that the little dog had bitten her? Toto. Or everything. Notice how Toto was not scared of the great wizard's theatrics, yet he was so small in size, compared to the wizard, that no one seemed to notice him. The smoke, flames and holographic images of Oz were designed to frighten people into doing as the great wizard commanded. But Toto simply padded over, started barking until others paid attention to him and came to see what the barking was about. Who was behind the curtain? Just an ordinary person controlling the levers that created the illusion of the great wizard's power and authority. When Toto pulled back the curtain and completely exposed him, the charade was at an end. The veil hiding the corporate legal fiction and its false courts was removed. The wizard's game was up, and what was he after all? A conman, a fraud. We can see, in this tale, just how loud the bark from a little dog can be. Most of us remain silent and wait to be given whatever food and recognition, if any, by our legal masters. Let us not forget those flying monkeys. What perfect mythical creatures to represent the Bar Association attorneys, who attack and control the little people for the great crown wizard, the powerful and grand bankers of Oz. How, finally, was the evil witch destroyed? Pure, clean water? Liquidation. How did Dorothy finally get home? She simply clicked her heels. She always had the power, and so do we. What would it take to expose the wizard for what he is? We each need only a brain, a heart and soul, and courage. Then, and perhaps of the greatest importance, we need to learn how to work together. Only by working together can we have the freedom that was given to us all under the law of God.
System.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like, and you wonder, like I always go back to Ecclesiastes. Is it Ecclesiastes 3:15 or whichever one it is, where there's nothing new under the sun, everything that has been will be. It's like, okay, well then we've already been down this road, some time frame of existence. I mean, they're talking about AI now,
Yeah, and I think it's going all back to Babel again. I mean, they're trying to get rid of every culture and they're just trying to mesh it together, kind of like a Babylonian type system where nobody's got any sort of ties to their ancestry. It's just amazing. And they're all trying to put us into one language, English. It's amazing. You go to other countries, and like my wife's from the Philippines, you go to her country, if you don't speak English, good luck getting a job. It's not even their national language. They all speak Tagalog there, or Tagalish. Really, it's becoming Tagalish, basically English and Tagalog put together. But you can't get a job, you can't go to college. You can't do anything if you don't speak English fluently. It's crazy. And they tell us that the English language is started in the 1200s. You look at the 1200s English, it's Latin. It's Latin. It's basically Latin. And then they'll tell you that, well, English derived from Latin and Greek and whatever. Well, no, it didn't. The first English book that was mass produced was the Bible, the King James Bible. Before that, you can't find a book written in English. So the guy that King James, he started the English literature almost. That's how far back it goes, only 300 or 400 years ago. And the other book that King James is so proud of writing was on demonology. So the guy that wrote a book on demons is right in our Bible, and that's the most trusted book. And then they ship it off to America, where at that time I believe they're all reading the Geneva Bible.
Yeah, which is the one that I want to have, the pre-1500 one is what I want.
Yeah, well, it's not even 1500. It's I think it's 569 or 500 something. But it says an I. It's not a 1. So what does that mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't even know what the real
the I means in the year of who? So in the year 500, but that's supposed to be a 1500 euro. 1500 is what they say it is. No, it's I 500. They added 1,000 years.
So who knows if we're really what era we're really in? I mean, some people have been claiming online what the real timeline is. Obviously, I would go by what scripture says and stuff, but you gotta have to use both and see. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but I was looking into all these calendars and even found the lunisolar calendar that I was been following for a while. So I kind of go back and forth with it because I hear one side of it from one friend of mine, and then I hear another side from another friend of mine. So I kind of like do both. Saturday.
For a while, I was thinking, no, we can't be living 500. If they added 1,000 years to our calendar, we're living in what, the year 1025, right? 1025.
Something I heard.
If they added 1,000. So let's think about that. Does it make more sense if Jesus said, you know, he's coming back quickly, he's coming back soon, coming back really soon? You read the whole New Testament, and Jesus repeats himself. Here I come quickly. Whoa, I come quickly. I come in a thief in the night, And here we are. Well, they say we're 2,000 years. In my opinion, we're only about 1,000 years past Christ. Christ was born in about 6,000. In the year 6,000 after, a little before that, 5,500, I think it was, from creation to Christ, about 5,500 years. Well,
Possibly.
in all the books of the Bible that they took out, Barnabas, they took out Adam, in all the books they took out, it says strictly from the beginning, God's telling Adam there's going to be 7,000 years. 7,000, that's it. So these people are like, oh, I wonder when God's going to return. I wonder when Jesus is going to return. Well, if you had all the books of the Bible that we used to back, 100, 200 years ago, you'd know there's 7,000 years from creation to the end. So if Jesus was walking around in 5,500, and now it's 2,000, that doesn't make sense. Now it's 7,500 years since creation. And if we had the other books, people would be like, wait a minute, how can the Bible be wrong? But if it is only 7,000 years, and we did have the other books, and our pastors knew, like, hey, there's only supposed to be 7,000 years, and we're in 7,500 now, there's a lot of red flags there.
That too. Again, you don't know what they're teaching them in cemetery.
Yeah, and so I collect coins, and every real coin collector knows there's a gap of at least 700 years where there's no coins. Like, really? You can track the widow's mite from the time of Jesus. The widow's mite is the lady that put her last mite into the offering for the temple. And Jesus said, you gave more than all these people put together. She gave her whole savings. Yeah. So we have those. Okay, so we have that timeline. And we have shortly after that, the Romans, we have their coins. And then it's hard to follow a timeline, but there's between there and now, there's 700 plus years of coins missing. And any coin collector will tell you that. Like, oh, and they'll make excuses like, well, maybe that was the Ice Age, or maybe that was this age, or something happened. Or they'll say the other narrative, which is these coins, they were using them for 500 years. Like, who uses? We change our coins like we change our clothes here in America. Nobody's going to use the same coins for 500 to 700 years. That's ridiculous. And in archaeology, there's 700 years at least of missing. I don't know what you call that, but you know how we start making buildings, and then every year, they get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little better. Well, they're using the same construction materials and the same patents basically for buildings for at least 700 years. So it doesn't make sense that we're living 2,000 years past Christ to me. There's buildings that they've changed the times on. Even there's one in Netherlands, I believe. They put an M in front of the Roman numerals. Like, there's old pictures of this building, and I believe it said it was like 800, and I could pull it up somewhere, but it was like 800 and something in Roman numerals. Well, now you got a picture of it today. There's an M at the very beginning, which is M, and Roman numerals is 1,000. So who put the M there? And you can clearly see the M is new, and the other letters are obviously, the originals. And I don't know if you've seen that other video in San Francisco. There's a trolley video, an old trolley video from, I think, like 1911.
Yeah.
And the trolley's going down, and it's going down, and it gets to, I think it's like the Central Station. And if you pause the video for a second, you can see a little plaque on the side of the building. And I believe it's 800 and something, it says. Well, it should be 1800, right?
Interesting.
And
I
there's graves in Russia that have all been rewritten.
So
So yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. If you're gonna follow the Bible timeline and you're gonna read some of these other books like Enoch and Barnabas and some of these other books, it clearly says that Christ will be on earth in around, I think it's 5500, and then you got not much time left after that, for people to repent and whatnot. And then there's the whole thing with Satan being loosed for 1,000 years. Add 1,000 years to that, well then you're coming pretty much close on 7,000 right there.
yeah, you kind of have to. There's a lot of things that I was thinking about when you're talking. As far as timelines are concerned, there's also obviously, the quote New Testament, Matthew 24, the seals, all that stuff lined up with Daniel 70 weeks of Daniel and all these things. I'm also thinking about when you mentioned about the long times. I don't know if you've seen this documentary. It's actually in our circles. A lot of people have seen it, but I don't. You may have seen it. I don't know. It's called. Let me see if I remember it. Patterns. Oh yeah, patterns and evidence of evidence in Exodus or something like that. And it actually goes through the correct timeline of the Exodus versus what we were told it was, and everything lines up after that. It's pretty amazing. So I don't know if we can continue on from that reevaluation, or they mess things up again later on after that, and try to reset as we know. Because again, the lifespan should have been 1,000 years. The oldest, if we recorded human being, was Methuselah, 969 years, and it went downhill from there. And then it says, "Oh, we can only live past 120." But then you hear about stories of people who lived in the mountains that are over 150 years old, 200.
Well, there's a couple interpretations of that 120 years. So,
well, yeah,
so there's it says it'll be 120. That man expects to live so long, but it's only going to be 120 years. Well, when he said that, he was talking about in 120 years, I'm sending the flood.
And that's the other way. That's the other thing I've heard as well.
Right.
So when I hear and see claims of these old people in the mountains that only eat herbs, that are 500 years old and had 27 wives in his lifetime, that makes me think, well, what do you guys really know here? Because I'm looking at the dude right now, and he definitely looks like he's 500 years old, but not like decrepit. So maybe what you're saying, maybe we're onto something here. I mean, all the founded buildings, claims of everything being reset every 100 years because people can't live past those times, but depending on the Western diet.
Well, Abraham lived after the flood, obviously, and he lived 3.5 jubilees. A jubilee is being 70 years.
You froze there for a minute.
Oh, I froze?
Only thing I heard.
Connection is unstable. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Only thing I heard was Abraham.
Oh, yeah. So Abraham was after the flood. Am I coming in clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was after the flood, and the Bible said he lived I think it was 2.5 jubilees. Which is, obviously a jubilee, 70 years.
50, I think.
I think it's 70 or jubilees. Isn't it 70 years for jubilee?
I heard jubilees 50.
Well, either way, but I think it's 70. But anyway, he lived obviously past 120 years. Thought he was closer to 200 and 100, but I'll have to go back and look at it. But so, I mean, there was people that live in a little bit longer after the flood. I think their lifespan obviously did decrease.
And they were bigger.
Oh yeah, I
Because
believe they were bigger.
there's
Yeah.
the Neanderthals there's this dentist that came to the church I grew up in, and he brought in a book called Neanderthal, totally against his whole industry of dentistry. And it proves, creation and stuff. But yeah, they were bigger teeth. Now, obviously, they probably didn't think they were, quote, 24 feet tall, but who knows? Maybe Adam and Eve were humongous giants. Maybe they were titans and they went there. I don't know.
Well,
But
I
then you
think
look at Noah's Ark. I know you showed me something like that, but Noah's Ark, how big was it? How big was Noah? The scene Noah was small, way smaller. But again, everything was bigger. You have all the old remnants of axes cutting down trees, and some people say it could be angels. Again, I don't know. It would make sense that Adam and Eve were huge. Who knows how big was the garden? If the Garden of Eden is still a lot, of course it is. But if it's at people claim that it's right there at the North Pole in the center of the earth, or it's in the garden, or who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. Um, if you want to show something, yeah, it's definitely screen share it. I'm just like, I don't know,
I'm
man.
just
It
trying to
makes
see how
sense.
long Jubilee is online. I don't know. It seems to say it's 70 years. I have to look it up later, but anyway, yeah, I think Adam and Eve were taller than us and bigger than us. I think it's what the heck's the name? The name of that book. Not Jasher. Dang.
Ezra?
Ezra's 2, I think it is. Ezra's 2. So
Yep.
those are part of the original King James Bible. Talks about Ezra's, and he's debating with God. He has a vision from God, and he's seeing the whole layout of creation to the end. And he's just looking at it, he's like, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but he's looking, he's like, wait, these people are much smaller in the end. What's going on here? And God's like, well, yeah, of course they are. And God tells him, it's just like a woman who keeps giving birth to a lot of children. The first ones are going to be more healthy and bigger and more viable than the latter ones, such as the same as my creation. So obviously, even in his time, which was like what, 200-300 years before Christ, and he's already like, wow, these people are teeny weeny. These guys are, what's going on here? And I think that's part of the reason why they took out that book, because it flies in the face of evolution, obviously. And
Can you imagine how our perspective, when the spies went into the land of Canaan when they were out in the wilderness during Moses' time, and they went and spied at the quote promised land, and they freaked, and because they said we're like grasshoppers compared to these people.
oh yeah,
I wonder how big they were themselves compared to us, and what they thought was huge compared to them.
yeah.
Oh,
I definitely think that when they said that they're as tall as the cedars of Lebanon, I don't think that was just like them saying something sarcastic or uh, some claim that, it's just. I think it was actual. I think it was
yeah, same.
not something they're just saying like out of the whim, like, oh, we seem like it, but we're not really. I think that they were as grasshoppers and these giants were as the cedars of Lebanon. Um,
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree, man.
Hold on a second. These people. You guys shut the door. I'm doing a podcast here. Anyway, so yeah, I think it was real. I think these Anunnakis, or what are they, Anakites, whatever they were, Amalekites.
Canaanites,
Huge
any
people.
ites, any ites were huge. This is what I see. I used to think that, how people would have this hard time, like, how could, quote, God say, kill all these people? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I tend to think that there were Nephilim.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
there's a reason for it. Yeah,
to corrupt the bloodline. And that's essentially why. It has nothing to do with if they were human or not. I think it's because of that. So when I
yeah, it
tell
was for our benefit. It wasn't him just destroying
yeah,
these people out of whim, like I said. they sinned a few times and hey, off them. I
Yeah.
think it was a real problem with the Giants, and they were cannibalistic, and
Yep. They're actually really they introduced cannibalism. A lot of the atrocities that we hear about in scripture, I think, were caused by the fallen ones
yeah,
and hybrids and all these things. I always believed that demons were the offspring of the Nephilim,
yeah.
and
Demons were, well, it says right there. I'm not sure if it's in Genesis, but it's in Jubilees. Says that there was the spirits of the Nephilim, wandered
yeah,
around after the flood, and they were a real problem. And Noah's pleading to God, saying, "Hey, they're making, these Nephilim spirits are making my children sick, and they're, causing them to sin." And don't quote me on this, but I believe it was the Prince of Mastema said that to God, like, "Hey, I need them to help torment the people and to do my job here, whatever that might be." And so God allowed him to keep a tenth of the spirits here on Earth, but
possibly. I even saw an old website. I don't know if it's still online, but something Jesus is my savior.com or some back in the 90s, man, I saw this. And again, this is back then where we only knew what we knew, even about the name of Christ and all that stuff. But this dude was ahead of his time. He was talking about gray aliens were actually Nephilim spirits in their suit, their chains. It just says that he wrapped them
hold
in
on
their
one second.
yeah.
Sorry about that. I thought we had dog problems here. I heard a whining dog. I thought he was stuck in the
Oh,
basement.
I
Yeah. So this.
yeah. So like the alien grays and all that.
Yeah.
There's scripture that says that he put them in chains, but it's like a spiritual. I forget the actual verse. I have to go on the website, but it made sense because maybe that's their chain that he put around them. And now people think what aliens are, and people have said for a lot of years that they think they're demons, and it's probably what it is. It's probably those
Oh yeah.
great because
Yeah. I
Alistair
think there's different types of demons. That's for sure.
yeah, Alistair Crowley, the most evil man on earth, claims says he conjured up one of these entities that looks like a gray alien. So
Yeah. He
who
drew it in a little outline, and it looks just like the face of what we consider an alien.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's what it is. I think these are what the creator cursed and put them in chains and
Oh
said
yeah,
they're just
definitely.
uh
I don't know if you've heard about the Statue of Liberty. I mean,
yeah,
it's
they
supposed to be
yeah,
in Connecticut, but they say that that's actually Lucifer.
yeah,
And at first, I'm like, I don't know. But you think about it, you got what is Lucifer, the morning star? And so where does the sun come up in the morning? Like, well, it comes up on the East Coast, right, where the Statue of Liberty is, right?
mhm,
What is he? He's the light bearer, right? What's he holding? He's holding the light, okay. Um, and what does he have on his feet? On his foot, he's got a chain,
yeah,
a broken chain on his foot. So,
yeah.
he was loosed after 1,000 years of being bound. Now he's what, unloosed or what? He's
Remember,
got a chain that's broken, a shackle around his leg.
don't say he's trans.
You got a point there because, and one other thing about the Statue of Liberty, what is he on? What is he standing on?
A star, it's like a
A
gated.
star, the morning star. Where
Yeah,
where does the sun come up again? In the morning.
yep.
You got him standing on the star.
It's
Very
crazy.
interesting. And then
It's
they got
crazy.
paintings of Lucifer that match him identical.
And you wonder if that now when the Illuminati brought it over here in 1800, you wonder if they put it on that Stargate, maybe, or it was part of the whole structure. I don't know. So who knows if that's a Stargate right there in the middle of, and they got
Or
that
was it
thing
even
around.
brought over? That's another
What?
thing. Was it even brought? Was it even brought here, or was it already here? Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. What if they just put it on there? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They built even the statues. I because they showed pictures of them like constructing the
Well, yeah, and a lot of that is actually they say AI is new, but a lot of that stuff is actually photoshopped and AI. Have you ever seen those pictures of the guys out there on at the construction sites of say like the Empire State Building, or they're all out on a they're all out on a beam.
yeah.
Oh, they're all sitting out on a beam, like, oh man, it was so hard back then, one slip and whoa, that guy. Those were all photoshopped and magic tricks of the camera. They weren't actually out there on a beam. No. And you can look this up. I think they've actually admitted it finally, but for a while, they put this out there like, oh, you think your job is hard. Look at these guys. No, this is all fake. They weren't really out there risking their life on a beam just for a photo op. Who's going to do that, first of all? Even they, even as stupid as we might think they were back then in their construction, they didn't do that. No, those are all photoshopped and put together by the people that wanted to make a narrative, I guess, or something on how risky this job is and how easy it is.
Well, maybe
Hmm.
if that's the case, then maybe they you know how like they have these photos where what am I trying to say? They have like we know what we can build.
Yeah,
You know? And yeah, the Empire State Building is a beautiful building. If you've ever been there. Um, but maybe it was already there. Maybe they added on to it and they had
it'd
pictures.
be. I mean, if you see the Washington Monument, it's kind of the same thing. But you can go to the Washington Monument today. You can see, the bricks from the first 100 feet are different color, and I think they might have actually added on to the Washington Monument just because of that reason, because the they say that it was a few years and that it sat there because of finances or whatever. I think it was there hundreds of years at least, and then they decided to finish their obelisk. It was probably already built from this former civilization, and they just decided to finish it because if you look at
Probably,
the bricks, so far up, there's a different color, obviously, and then they decided to keep building. But
yeah. And you have to again, you have to look at who knows what's in the National Archive. But the thing is that I'm thinking about George Washington right now, and if
Mhm.
you find like what he wrote and stuff, or like we wrote and all these things, is there any indication of these remnants of history past in his writing? Because they tell us that he was our first quote president in the Federalists, and he ran away. He fought against the British and he came over here. All these things. I mean, I know that there's a documentary from Megiddo that I still have not seen because I guess I'm just cautious and afraid of what I've learned. But I've known about it for about 25 years. It's called Megiddo from it's a company. No, no, Adullam Films they're called. And I've already seen one about end times Megiddo or end times whatever. There's another one that my friend told me about from that same company called The Great Seal, the dark history of the creation of our nation.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know what's going to be in there, but
Well, I
I
think
don't know if that's
George
anything to do
Washington
with
was
your job.
probably the first of the bad presidents, honestly, in my opinion. There was 7 presidents before him that you never hear of.
I didn't know anything about that, man.
Go look at this. You can even Google search it. It's not, they don't even hide it from you. Look up 7 presidents before George Washington, and it'll show 7 presidents that existed before Washington. But they only consider Washington the first president for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe because they say that we had our independence from England at that time. I don't know, but there was actually 7 presidents before him.
Are
That,
you serious?
yeah.
You'd have to send me that because that will definitely be a new Brown.
And going back to Satan, you were saying Satan, is a trans or whatever you want to say. I was looking at a coin the other day. They
Right.
only made this coin in Mexico 1 year. And because it was like a $200 coin. I'm like, that's too much. I'm not paying $200 for a coin. So I thought, well, maybe maybe there's a common year for this coin or something like that. So I looked at different years and there was no other years. It's just 1 year. And I'm looking at this year, this coin, and it looks just like kind of like the Statue of Liberty. And it's very weird. It's holding a chain in its hand, this angelic being. So it's
Wait.
holding a chain in a hand again. It's a whole chain theme.
What
And
is it?
huh?
Repeat that. What is this?
It's a coin. It's a coin from Mexico.
Oh, Mexico. Okay.
Mexico. Yeah, because I was looking at coins. I happened to come across that one, and it was a couple $100. It's just silver. It's not gold or anything. I'm like, gee, that's expensive. So I thought I'd find a more common year because I kind of was interested in that coin. I'd never seen it before, but it's like an angelic being, almost like the Statue of Liberty, holding shackles, and it's got female parts, but it looks like a dude. And I thought it was interesting that they only made it 1 year, and then they stopped making it. I'm like, did they like think that was a little too risky or put too much information out there, and they just wanted to show you without showing you real? It's like a sleight of the hand, like, hey, look at this, and then quickly make another coin for the next year. But anyway, that was pretty interesting. It just came up the other day.
Remember, nothing's new under the sun, so who knows? I mean, that really, if that seven presidents, seven presidents thing is for real, man, who knows what it is then now, and if it's different because the corporation was created, and does that change things? Or I don't know, because in the history books that we quote are told about, they claim that he wanted to be king. They wanted him to be king, and it's like, nah, I don't want to be king. We left that. So who knows? I mean, I'm gonna have to figure that. I'm gonna have to research that. Right? That's news to me, man.
Yeah. And he wasn't, they were all Masons. I mean, you got that thing going on, and you got
Yeah,
Washington D.C., that's shaped like a pentagram, and you
I
got
heard that
balls
there's
there.
different types of masons though, and I remember that talking about that. This is another deep dive we should go into. I'm gonna definitely look into that. Yeah, man.
And going back to that whole timeline thing, I mean, the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, right? Obviously, you're geocentrics familiar with them. The Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So the sun, in the winter, in our winter, it's going around the Tropic of Capricorn on the southern region, and then when it comes up by us, it's circling the Tropic of Cancer, where you can see on your map behind you.
Yeah.
But the thing about those they named them those for navigational purposes. Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, because they were aligned with certain astrological signs. But the problem is, every great year, I think they call it, which is about 2,000 years, the whole star line shifts one notch. It's almost like a clock, you know. So, like they say, we're going to the age of Aquarius now because the whole star system can be shifting a notch, in that clock.
Yeah, yeah, the quadrant thing we were talking about last time.
Yeah. So
Quadrant, yeah.
those Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn beforehand were always aligned with those astrological signs, but we're not living in Capricorn or Cancer anymore.
You're gonna be in the age of
We're going to
Aquarius.
be in Aquarius. And not only that, but they should have renamed those a long time ago, but they haven't. Why haven't they? Is it because there was less years than they're telling us? Or is it because somebody just got lazy and decided to keep the names? I don't know, but but if you're out on a ship and you're trying to use those signs with the old maps and the old star system, you're going to get lost because you're not in the year of Cancer or Capricorn anymore. You're going to be slightly off course.
Yep.
Going to be going.
All right, dude. It looks like we got 1 minute left.
All righty. I guess we'll wrap it up, and yeah, I guess next week. I don't know if you got any ideas next week. We'll bring them up, but maybe by then the 666 or I mean the BBB bill will be passed by then, and we can all have our tax breaks. So
Hey, maybe we can knock some things out of there, and hopefully it'll be a little bit better. We'll see. I don't know. We got our 10 Patriots, or two of the ones that I know that are holding it up. So we'll see, man.
all
They're
right,
holding it for us.
all right. Well, I'll sign out. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time.
All right, buddy.
See you later.
Later.